So, good evening. Welcome and thank you for joining the 2024 Sonoma County Conservation Council Environmental Awards presentation. And we do thank technology for this ability for us to connect and hear from our awardees from the comfort of our homes. And we do hope to see many of you in person this Friday at the Grange celebration. I think Suzanne's going to be posting the link to purchase tickets in chat, and we do appreciate advance purchase so we know how much food to have for everybody on Friday. So, in case you're not familiar with these awards, the Sonoma County Conservation Council has been recognizing local environmental achievements since 1975. For many years, we celebrated awardees at a community dinner, in addition to hosting a holiday networking party. These events were consolidated about 9 years ago, at which time we received a bequest from the estate of Ernestine Smith, and she was one of the key environmental leaders of that generation that helped save Sonoma County from even more rampant development early on. These leaders recognized the priceless value of our natural lands and ecosystem and worked to protect them for future generations. Ernie Smith asked that SCCC continue the tradition of honoring leaders such as these each year. And although we've closed the Environmental Center, SCCC continues to provide storage, our website resources, a Zoom account, and other services to our members and to the greater community. So networking is part of our mission. So what we'd like the participants to put your name in chat. And if you are involved with any particular environmental organization or have a particular interest, you can put that down too, so that we can know who's here and who's kind of interested in what aspects of environmental issues and protections. My name is Wendy Krepnick, and I've joined the SCCC board about 24 years ago because I really do believe in this mission of networking and connecting and people working together. I have one of each feet firmly planted in environmental and in agricultural interests, and I'm active with our local chapter of Community Alliance with Family Farmers, with the Native Plant Society, and with the Sonoma County Food System Alliance. So this evening, we honor the future of environmental protection, youth, and those working with youth to provide them with the opportunity to fall in love with and actually engage with our beautiful natural world. We also honor a volunteer with an amazing commitment to making tangible environmental improvements and an elder who has been defending our environment for decades. So I'd like to start off by wishing a very happy birthday to Rue Virch. Um, she's a former Environmentalist of the Year. And Rue, thank you for spending your birthday evening with us and for everything that you do. So Rue is going to be introducing our Lifetime Achievement Awardee this year, Ernie Carpenter.
Thank you, I think. You didn't have to do that. I spent the day at the Water Quality Control Board listening to the agony of a vineyard erosion ordinance. So this is the fun part. I think all of you know that Ernie spent 4 terms on the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, which is a yeoman's task all by itself. But Ernie has been truly a lifetime environmentalist before he was a supervisor, and certainly since he was a supervisor. He still engages in efforts towards environmental protection. I asked him some questions. Well, I should tell you that just so you get an idea of how long his shadow is. At the Water Quality Control Board meeting today, the vice chair who was chairing that meeting mentioned that Ernie had drugged him into the Vesco debate long, long, long ago. And Vesco, as you all know, is still functioning. And it was a remembrance of how long ago Ernie was making waves, and you should all know that he still is. He's still mentoring. He still holds great convening on his deck with people to talk about ocean protection and the local coastal plan and tree ordinances and Lord knows what all else. So you may not see him because he doesn't sit on a podium anymore, but he's still hard at it. I asked him some questions because I thought it would be amusing, and because it's Ernie, of course it was. I said, what is your favorite, not what's the most important, but what was your favorite environmental accomplishment? And he said, instilling an environmental ethic with the board. Far-reaching planning, documents via the general plan and local coastal plan to preserve ag land and resources, preserving the coast, fighting offshore development and undersea mining. We're still doing all of that, and so is he. I also asked if there was one difference that he could make in Sonoma County now, what it would be. And he said more protections for waterways and riparian areas, keeping restaurants and industrial fine Disneyland-like complexes out of ag land. I think we can all relate to these goals that he's still inspiring us. I also asked him, what does he think is key to how he operates that could inspire others? Because I think that, given the way the world works these days, is probably the most important message from a lifetime achiever. And he said, you need a strong environmental ethic for preservation of water, air, and land. You have to listen, teach, and form coalitions, show up, be consistent, and keep a good sense of humor. So I think that kind of encapsulates who Ernie is and what he's meant to us. And I just want to thank you for your lifetime of work on behalf of the rest of us, Ernie. You're a real champion. So I think you have a few words, that you don't have to do upside down.
I do have to unmute.
Yes, you do.
Am I on? Well, I thank you for that introduction, Rue, and I think what I'm going to do here in 8 minutes is to do a little personal, a little historic, and talk a little bit about where I think we are. And first of all, I thank you for the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Sonoma County Conservation Council. Wendy, all the organizers, thanks to all the members and those who are present tonight. On a personal level, I spent the first 6 years of my life in the Ozarks of Arkansas, and we didn't have electricity. So I got to live the Foxfire life with my grandparents. I hope you have read the Foxfire books. If not, look them up. I went to SF State in the 60s with the first wave rock and roll, the civil rights movement, and then to Berkeley in 1969, 67 through 69, and moved to Sonoma County because property was cheap in 1970, and my wife and I both had jobs here as social workers. I was elected to the board in 1980. I'd served from 81 to 97. I was on the Coastal Commission. Prior to that, Eric Koningshofer appointed me to the Planning Commission in 1979. He is now Linda Hopkins Planning Commissioner, which we have talked about, of course. Eric's term was important, and I'm mentioning it because when he came into office with Brian Kahn and Helen Rudy was there, the immediate past board wanted to make Sonoma County into 5-acre minimums, pretty much across the board. Half the county was zoned unclassified, which the courts, which someone challenged and the courts threw out. It basically meant you could do anything and any zoning district allowed in the U districts. So you can imagine what that was like in 1970s. The Farm Bureau and basically the apple farmers had a lock on Sonoma County politics. So Eric and Brian changed this. The very first planning study was the West Sebastopol area plan, and it was the first study which suggested large lot minimums as a way of controlling the land use, because zoning is what the county has. And as you know, the coastal areas and the resource areas pretty much are non-subdividable on the coast anymore. And that's one way the county can preserve the land, and that's a form we need to maintain. But you can imagine what 5-lot minimums would be like today if that had gone through in terms of traffic, agriculture, natural resource. Anyway, that first planning document led to the first real general plan in 1989 that won several awards. And that in itself controlled the growth in the county, developed it to community centers and cities, led to the Ag Preservation and Open Space District, which the voters voted in, and led to urban boundaries. These things were all mentioned in that general plan. Now, there were a lot of battles along the way, keeping mining and offshore oil development out, getting in-stream mining out of the Russian River, taking care of the coast. And here I want to thank some past members. Bill Cordham, whom you all know, has a nice trail named after him, fittingly. Marty Griffin, who led the gravel wars. There were so many people back then, who I'm going to mention again in a moment, that brought us to where we are today. I think the point of this is that good planning doesn't just happen. It takes an informed citizenry. It takes diligence. It takes hard work and a caring board of supervisors. So I want to recognize some past leaders. As Gayla Barron used to write, you're old if you remember Ernie Carpenter. You're older yet if you remember these people. Iva Warner, Martha Bentley, certainly Ernestine Smith, Dick and Jean Day, the Richardsons and Daniels, Betty Google. These are people that were leading when I came in, and their memory is still here. Point is, there's power in the commitment of a single individual. Lenny Weinstein comes to mind, getting the 116 scenic highway designation. He almost pulled that off himself. He certainly preserved all the trees in the Monte Cristo area out between Monterio and Jenner, which Caltrans wanted to blitz. So to paraphrase Barry Goldwater, which I hardly ever do, extremism in the defense of the environment is a virtue. It's not only okay to shake up the system, it is imperative. The last several years, I've become a committed yoga. Tonight, I will depart from the inner piece of yoga because sometimes in American politics, one has to make a statement. This board of supervisors that we have in 2024 exhibits no evident environmental commitment or value. They are moving government away from the people, from satya, truth, to a non-responsive bureaucracy. It's time to step up. They are sneaky and need to be watched with the general plan update. So my message to you in accepting this award with a great deal of gratitude, it's time to get organized if you want to maintain our resource and agricultural base, keep Sonoma County green, and protect the coast. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award, Rue, and for that, all you do and the great introduction. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I didn't go over 8 minutes.
That was great. And every word was very wise and well spoken. So thank you. Thank you, Ernie. Wow. Whew. Well, turning to our next award. I'd now like to invite Aaron Mulligan, who serves as steward at Land Pass Ocean Song Preserve, to introduce our special recognition awardee, John Fairbank. There's Aaron.
Ernie, look at the chat. You've got a bunch of congratulatory notes in the chat.
And Aaron, we're not hearing you.
Aaron, if you want to try, you could call Lee or I on our phones and we could just put it on the speaker to try, unless Wendy's got another idea, in case you hear us.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Well, I'm just going to do it this way. Sorry about that. I guess I don't know what just happened there, but I can't hear you guys, but you guys can hear me. So that's the important thing. So I'll be quick now since I've wasted a lot of my time, but I am very honored to be able to present this award to John Fairbank. My name is Erin Mulligan, and I'm the Ocean Song Land Steward, the former stewardship manager at Land Pass. And I met John in we believe about 2012. That's when I started at Land Pass, and he came out to a volunteer work day at the Bohemia Ecological Preserve to pull French broom, one of our many species that we work on at our nature preserves. And John quickly became a regular volunteer, coming out to many of my work days at a variety of the different preserves. And I would say, once I started talking to John and figuring out that he wasn't just a regular with Land Pass, he actually was a regular with a lot of other conservation organizations throughout the county. In fact, he volunteers for not only Land Pass, but for the regional parks, California state parks, the Redwood Trails Alliance, and sometimes for the Volunteers for Outdoor California. And even though John has a full-time day job, he volunteers for conservation organizations, I would say probably every single weekend, unless he's sick, hurt, or out of town. And he also goes beyond just showing up for our volunteer work days that all these organizations run. John will find areas that he wants to work on by himself. He comes out on his own time to either pull invasive species patches to help promote native biodiversity. He will come out in rainstorms to ensure that there isn't silt and mud going into our watersheds and impacting downstream habitat and aquatic life. And he will, like, if we don't finish something in a work day, he will come back and make sure that last broom is gotten. And so he really shows a strong commitment. And also just, I know that he also enjoys spending a lot of time outdoors. So he really embodies that reciprocity towards nature, in tending the land, as well as taking and enjoying it. So I just would love to express my gratitude personally for John's commitment to the health of our natural resources here in Sonoma County, as well as, and I just would like to say that if there was more Johns here in Sonoma County, I know that our natural resources would be in very good hands. So thank you, and I'll pass it off to John Fairbank.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate that. In fact, I definitely want to thank you and Jan, who's a co-volunteer out there, for nominating me. Jan is also a super volunteer who works a lot with regional parks as well as Land Pass. So it's really a joy to work with both of them. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I do spend a lot of time outdoors with my day job being an office job. It really kind of gains my sanity to be able to spend so much time outdoors and really appreciate Sonoma County. My family moved to Sonoma County when I was 3, so it's really all I remember from being a youngster. And I loved it so much that I came back after college and have planted roots here. So It's just so wonderful to be able to see so much open space. I really appreciate, as Ernie said, the establishment of the urban growth boundaries and the open space district. That's incredible to me that pretty much every year a new park opens up, whether it's in regional parks or some other organizations. So it's really fantastic and helps me because I love to go to a variety of different places when I hike and when I might do my volunteer activities. Um, my background, I again was raised out near Forestville. We were raised my dad to recycle from a young age, so we were one of those families that took put all our stuff in the big bins and had to take them all the way down to the recycling center because there was no pickup at that time. So that was early on, and then I joined the Boy Scouts, and so from that got a love of nature and learned to respect nature. There's quite a long gap in between when I was raising kids, but once the kids got older, then I started to hike again in Sonoma County, and I started looking around and saying, "Hey, somebody's got to be maintaining these trails that I'm enjoying every day." So started to look in what were opportunities to get involved in nature. And one of them with kept popped up was land paths. And since I hike so much, and I tend to get bored going to the same places over and over again, I was always looking for new places to hike. And so land paths gave me an opportunity to go to a place that wasn't open to the public. So with their preserves that are out there that are private, I got the chance to go out to them on the group opportunities, and then later on my own because I became such a regular volunteer. Um, as Aaron mentioned, the first event that I joined was a broom polling. And to this day, that's one of my favorite activities just because it gives you such a sense of accomplishment to be able to clear a patch of broom. Um, and then hopefully not see it come back. There are many patches that have been there for years and you'll see them come back over and over again. But it's a never ending job. So I think we won't lose an opportunity to continue to do that forever. One of the other opportunities I joined with land paths was camera monitoring, the wildlife cameras. I've been doing that over 10 years now also. And that's really interesting thing to me to be able to be the first one to see an image or a video of a mountain lion or a bobcat or something moving in front of the camera out in one of these remote parks. And great to see them because I just don't see them that often when I'm out hiking. One of the things that Aaron didn't mention was biofuel reduction. We've been doing a lot more of that over the last 5 or 6 years, you can imagine. So protecting areas near trails, also, preparing for preventative burns. So things like that have also been part of our jobs over the last few years. Just over this last year at my company, we did an evaluation of all the leaders in the company for our strengths to do kind of how do we work better as a team? And so we evaluate each other's strengths. And my number one strength was responsibility. And that really embodies the way I feel about the environment. So as Aaron mentioned, I'll see something as I'm out hiking and think, okay, nobody's taking care of that little patch of broom there. So I feel a sense of responsibility to go out and I'll take care of that myself. So it's just something I feel strongly about. Sometimes to my detriment, because as she mentioned, I don't do it when I'm hurt, but even sometimes when I'm hurt, I'm just driven to continue those activities. So trying to get that balance in there. And overall, as she mentioned, full-time job, it's a desk job. So being out in wilderness really helps me. And it adds up to about almost a full workday per week in terms of time I spend. Of course, that includes being a trail monitor for regional parks and state parks. But all in all, it comes out to 8 to 10 hours a week that I spend out doing activities for volunteering. One thing that has shifted for me is the seasons. We typically think of spring, summer, fall, winter, and my mentality now is in terms of invasive species seasons. So right now it's a season of maintaining trails and keeping the water running off from the water bars. And coming up soon now, we've got broom pulling season when the ground is soft. And then we've got barbed goatgrass and stinkwort and eventually the yellow star thistle, I think everybody's favorite, pulling yellow star thistle. So I feel, privileged to be able to be kind of an extension of the staff, both for land paths, for regional parks, because they send staff out sometimes and they'll do big projects, but they can't get to every little spot. And so, if I see a small patch of area that needs to be treated, that's the sort of thing that I really focus on, something that helps out, for all those regional organizations. And if we have a moment, I just have a couple of videos I wanted to share from the cameras that we have out there. So let me see if I can share real quick. Hopefully that'll work. Can you see that? Okay. So this is one of the first videos I got out at Bohemia Preserve. It was like, I think, the second or third location that we placed that particular camera. But I've got a couple of videos specifically from this spot, and then we've moved it around a little bit. Now it's parked in a different location, but this is one of the first, and I really appreciate this one. It's just fun to watch because it's a mother and a young bobcat walking down the trail. And it's so cute watching the little bobcat just hop over the rocks, just like a little kitten would at home. And then the second one, if I can get it, here you go. This is my favorite of all time. My mother and two juvenile mountain lions. That to me was one of the most special videos I've ever seen in all the 10 years I've been monitoring wildlife cameras. So I will leave you with that, and thanks again to Sonoma County Conservation Council and to Aaron and Jan for nominating me. I appreciate the recognition.
Well, yeah, well, thank you, John. Boy, I sure wish a lot more people felt that sense of responsibility for, this home, this amazing home that we have, that provides life for all of us. So again, thank you so much. So next, I'm grateful to Meg Beeler for calling our attention to SEEC, Sonoma Environmental Educators Collaborative, which I had known a little about, but had not been aware of the extent of their activities and functions. Meg has graciously agreed to introduce SEEC, and Christy Clark and Tony Pasantino will be representing this outstanding environmental program of the year. So, Meg?
Thank you, Wendy. Well, before I start, I just want to give a shout out to broom pulling. I was out there 3 hours ago on our land, discovering a horrible infestation. So I'm really pleased to introduce SEEC as the winner of the Environmental Program of the Year Award. SEEC is a cutting-edge program to foster collaboration and cross-pollination among environmental educators in the county. SEEC works to identify needs and holes in environmental ed programs, especially in Title I schools. So they share lesson plans, they hold monthly gatherings to deepen perspectives event at the California Indian Museum and Cultural Center. So some of Sonoma Mountain Preservation's board members were fortunate and giving people access to new information. Can't hear you, Wendy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Your internet connection was broken up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. So SEEC's intent, of course, is to bring awe, love of nature, and reciprocal relationship and environmental awareness to our youth. So I wish SEEC had existed when Sonoma Mountain Preservation dreamed up our idea to introduce every child who lives around Sonoma Mountain to it, rooting them to their home mountain, connecting kids across the mountain through at the time to implement our dream. But with SEEC, we would have had a program to go to see who was teaching which grades in which schools and how we could integrate our bit and design additional curriculum. As far as I know, SEEK is a first. No other Bay Area counties have a program like SEEK. And for example, I've talked to people in Contra Costa County who work at Save Mount Diablo doing ed programs, and they're like, whoa, that's amazing. So welcome Christy Clark and Tony Pasatiento, dynamic and committed leaders of SEEK.
Thank you, Meg. Tony, maybe I'll share a little bit first and then I'll pass it over to you. I have the privilege of getting to work with a lot of these people, actually, our panelists who are receiving awards today, who are their organizations are part of SEEK, of this collaborative, and have been since the beginning in like 2008. And SEEK has really evolved since then. We have all of our different committees, and my role in particular is really at the forefront of this Environmental Education Pathways project, which Meg touched on a little bit, of really trying to find those gaps within Title I elementary schools and build from there and create these really awesome experiences for students that not a lot of other kids get and not a lot of other schools get to experience. So it's something really special that we're working together on. Getting to shadow each other's programs more is one of the huge things that's so special about SEEK, is getting to learn from one another and getting out of our silos as environmental education providers and instead learning from each other and bridging that gap. And so it's been a privilege of mine to shadow everybody too. Part of my job was getting to explore Sonoma County from the beginning. Living in San Rafael when I first started, didn't know much of Sonoma County, and within the first maybe 3 months, I'd been out to Pepperwood and out to Sugarloaf and out to Armstrong Redwoods and the Laguna and all these different places that are so key to our county and what make it so beautiful and so strong, and what makes SEEK so amazing too. So I'm really happy to be part of this collaborative and honored to be receiving this award on behalf of SEEK. And then, yeah, I'll pass it over to Tony as our chair of SEEK.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy. Yeah, thank you so much for honoring us, Meg. Good to see you. We work closely out in Sonoma Valley together, but it's great with SEEK that we get to broaden our geographic range to the county. Quick background, I'm sure some of you have read a little bit about SEEK, the Sonoma Environmental Education Collaborative. But I know Craig can tell a backstory on it better than me because he was around for it. But yeah, about 2 decades ago, there was interest in forming a collaboration of all the amazing nonprofits that work in environmental education. And as we know, Sonoma County has a lot of nonprofits, which we love. It's a lot of caring individuals that have mission-driven work. However, when those nonprofits aren't communicating, we're not as strong. Because when we collaborate together and we share resources and networks and support for one another, we can be a lot better at doing the work that oftentimes a mission, particularly in the environmental world, is never fully accomplished, but it's definitely a vision that we strive for to the fullest. And folks like John and our volunteer community that support those that are employed keep that movement going. So it was a consortium of environmental education providers, no requirements required or background required. It's just if you provide environmental ed to youth, you're welcome to join this group. And a lot of us did it volunteering. We found hours and billable time we could put towards it. And we coalesced around ideas ranging from professional development, getting more robust education for newcomers. Meg mentioned, we're working with the California Indian Museum, hopefully cultivating relationships on previous areas that didn't have the same trust level. Yeah, and networking to get to know one another. I was at the water agency building on Wooler Bridge on Tuesday. We got to shadow their 5th grade water program. We do a water program over at Sugarloaf Ridge State Park. I had never seen what the water agency does, but I know that they serve at Flowery Elementary School in Sonoma Valley, and we serve at Flowery Elementary School. And so now we can kind of see what's going on in the classroom. And now with Christy having the resources and having her strength behind her, we're forming this pathway program where we're really intentional designing environmental education where every single elementary student from TK to 5th grade is guaranteed an outdoor ed field trip in Sonoma County. Every single grade level. And so we're not quite there yet. But the fact that we all have our eyes on it, we're realizing where there are places we're falling short and where we have our strengths. And so it's pretty incredible. You know, from the youth level, they just realize they get a new field trip at school, but from the higher level of education, we know that the kids of Sonoma County are getting an in-depth education in environmental science. And so hopefully, you know, that investment at the early age is something that grows into fruition to support people like SECC and the other great initiatives going for grassroots environmental causes. So thank you again. It's great to represent SEEC. It's carried me along my entire career path with the Sonoma Ecology Center.
Wow, very cool. Well, thank you, Tony. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm very impressed and excited to learn more about this organization and the amazing work that you're doing, which in admission in some ways is so parallel to SCCC, which is all about networking and collaboration. So, you know, very close to my heart. Thank you so much. So moving along here. Now, in keeping with our tradition of a previous year's Environmentalist of the Year, introducing the current year's awardees, Kathy Pons will now introduce Christine Fontaine. So now we are moving to our Environmentalist of the Year awardees. So, Kathy.
Hi. I feel honored to be able to do this. I was taken by a first paragraph that was written by Ann Morkill, who nominated Christine for this award, and I just like to read it. The reason that Christine is a true embodiment of an inspirational, creative, and passionate environmental educator who, as Rachel Carson described, if a child is to keep alive his inborn sense of wonder, he needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with him the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in. Every day, Christine rediscovers the joy in nature and shares it with everyone she works with and teaches, whether it's pointing out a flock of white pelicans circling overhead that distracts coworkers in a meeting, or it's a deer track in the mud that she pauses to ponder, to tell stories about the lives of deer as she leads a group of children along the creek. Christine Fontaine has served as education director in Laguna de Santa Rosa Foundation for nearly 18 years. Christine is an inspirational, creative, and passionate environmental educator who advanced the Laguna learning, and developed Camp Thule programs, which have inspired thousands of children about the wonders of the Laguna watershed. She has grown Learning Laguna, an environmental and wetland science education program for 2nd to 4th grade students, and it serves approximately 23,000 children to date. Christine also created Camp Thule in 2018, a summer day camp that now also serves as a career pathway program for high school and college students seeking hands-on opportunities to learn teaching skills and build their own leadership competencies, serving as camp counselors and naturalists. She has trained hundreds of people to serve as volunteer environmental teachers and guides. Her leadership and creative planning ensure that the Laguna Foundation's community education programs engage and inspire people of all ages to the value of Laguna's de Santa Rosa ecosystems. It is my honor to introduce Christine Fontaine as an Ernestine Smith Environmentalist of the Year 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Wow, who is that person? That sounds great. I didn't read the nomination, but yeah, that's a very lovely introduction. Thank you. And thanks to Sonoma County Conservation Council for this honor. This recognition really means a great deal to me professionally and personally. As my mom is always quick to remind me, I put my heart and my soul into my work. And I think for that reason, it feels particularly wonderful to be seen in this way by Anne, my nominator, and also by the council. So thank you so much. I also want to give a quick shout out. I also have to say that it's humbling to receive the Ernestine Smith Environmentalist of the Year award alongside my revered colleagues Craig and Lee. I know that they work tirelessly for people and place, and they have incredible vision, heart, and passion, and are each in their own right a mighty force for nature and for good of our whole community. I want to express my gratitude to Anne, my nominator, and all of our education volunteers at the Laguna Foundation, past and present. I feel like our Laguna Foundation education teams are successful because of their support and their heart and the skill and the dedication that they bring to all of our education programs. We have an amazing staff of educators at the Laguna Foundation, and we have also all these volunteers who I think of as staff as well. We're all working together to be successful. It's really important to me too to thank two particular people who have been on this journey with me, the journey that I've had at the Laguna Foundation. They've been with me every step of the way for the last 18 years. And those two people are Rainey Sugg and Carolyn C.J. Johnson. They trained me in how to run and care for the Learning Laguna program, and they have always inspired me to become a better teacher. They've helped me raise up more than 200 community members to become environmental educators. Rainey and CJ have guided, supported, mentored, encouraged, and have been steadfast friends to me in this work all of these years. I'm deeply grateful to Rainey and CJ, and I truly feel like I share this award with them. My inspiration comes from a personal, lifelong love of the natural world and a couple of core beliefs that I carry with me every day. One of them, and probably a lot of you know this already or feel this yourselves, but I really believe in this quote by Wendell Berry that if you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are. And I feel like that sums up the concept of sense of place. It means to me that we have to know where we live. We have to know the landscape, the way the air feels and smells, the timings of bird migrations, the timings of invasive species, the seasonal cycles, and the history of our place before we can truly know ourselves. That we exist in context. And I'm really driven to help people learn and experience this incredible place where we live and to contribute to its well-being. Because as I'm sure all of you believe as well, that we, and I mean by we, that we all living beings together and the environment that we share are all interconnected and interdependent. Another core belief that I carry around is in the power of people coming together for a greater good. So I'm always trying to, bring more people together in the work. And I deeply believe in children. I believe in their innate curiosity, in every child's intellect and capabilities. I believe in their goodness and in their potential. And I want children to grow up loving nature and respecting nature and being in relationship with nature. And I wish for every child that they may know the immense beauty, wonder, resilience, and the comforts of nature, and that they always do their best for nature's sake. I've stayed motivated in this work all these years because I get to work with my whole self. I get to bring in my creativity and, my heart and my spirit and my ideas and my own spark. And also I stay motivated because the Laguna needs us, our environment needs us. I'm also motivated by all the classroom teachers that I get to work with and all the children who have been part of Learning Laguna for the last 25 years and for all those yet to come. I stay motivated because of the kids and the teens and the young adults who've participated in Camp Thule, and also for all of those yet to come. And I'm motivated by all the beautiful people who I get to work with every day, from the Laguna Foundation staff, past and present. We're all working together in important ways, doing different jobs and have different pieces of working for the good of this ecosystem. It takes all of us. And I love the people that I work with, and I'm really grateful for that. I stay motivated because of my colleagues through the Sonoma County Environmental Education Collaborative. We inspire and encourage each other in countless ways in our meetings and in our work every day. So been part of SEEC since the beginning. And as Tony mentioned, it's always been with him and his career. And it's been a really, really important part of my career as well, knowing all of our colleagues and the great things that we do together. As I mentioned too, our Laguna education team, our staff and our volunteers keep me motivated. Our teams today and all the volunteers who've come through the Learning Laguna program as well, and our community education volunteers. They're wonderful people who volunteer their time to help our community connect to the natural world. So I love that idea of those concentric circles, that each person is touching somebody else who touches somebody else, and how much impact we can have when we're working together. I'm also staying motivated by our donors and our funders. There are people who come forward who have confidence in our ideas and believe in what we can do together. They're making this work possible, and it's a motivator, and I really appreciate that support from our donors and funders as well. I feel so lucky, and actually I'll use the word blessed, to be able to do this work. And this recognition to me feels like a really strong motivator to keep going. To me, a meaningful life is created through what one gives, not by what one gets. But I will say this award feels really great to get. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be in this room with all of you. And thank you.
Oh, so beautifully said, Chris. I really, really appreciate everything that you said, and again, everything that you do. This is very heartwarming and very inspiring and uplifting, which I think we can all use a big dose of right now. I want to also say again what I said at the beginning, that if any of the attendees, the participants out there, have comments or questions that you'd like to put in chat, if anybody isn't looking at chat, there's been just a lot of accolades and applause and hearts and right on and things like that. But again, any questions that you might want us to collectively address when we're done with the presentations, feel free to add those to chat as well. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to keep moving us along for right now. It is my, excuse me, my very great honor to introduce my friends, Lee Hackeling and Craig Anderson, who are jointly receiving our other Environmentalist of the Year award, specifically for the Land Path's Rooting Youth in Nature initiative. So you can see that there's a theme here with these awards. As their website describes, we reduce the barriers and expand opportunities to get outside so that youth can experience the wonder, joy, awe, belonging, and sense of stewardship in nature. Too many kids don't have the opportunity to hear frogs in a pond, to see hawks circling over an oak, covered hill, or to watch, butterflies on late summer asters. Lee and Craig wisely recognized that in order to continue to value and protect all that the elders mentioned earlier tonight fought so hard for, it's critical to give young people experiences in nature. So thank you both for your dedication to the environment and to future generations. So I turn this over to you both now.
Wow. Well, thank you, Wendy, so much for that. I'm going to start with I'll start, and then if Lee, of course, Lee and I work together, and we're also married. And so if Lee wants to take herself off mute at any time, she is so welcome. I'm going to start with some appreciations, tell a couple little stories, and end with an invitation, if I may. I'm also going to set my timer to go off in 7 minutes, so it gives me a minute or less. First off, I've had the extreme honor to work with my life partner for the last 27 years at LandPaz. LandPaz is short, as Ernie knows, for Land Partners Through Stewardship. And for years, I've been the public face. Not so much last few years, but for many years, I was the public face, involved in program development and leading trips. But it's really Lee's work which allows me and the agency and all of us to persevere and to thrive through her strategic thinking and her heart and her values-based approach. And I can tell, Tony alluded to a backstory on the founding of the Sonoma Environmental Education Collaborative, or SEEC. And I'll just add, for a very humble person, only I know this because I'm married to the woman who had the spark of the idea many years ago, in talking with a donor who wanted to help. And she said, well, you can help us do this and bring people together. So I applaud Lee for that. I'm also and we are super humbled to be here standing on the shoulders of so many that came before us, like Pat and Ted Elliott. Pat was on our board. Ted's been a mentor for many years. And Lucy and Bill Cordum, of course, they're all gone, but others that are still with us. And it's really great to see younger people in the room and have Christy with us because she represents today and tomorrow, and we need that. And it's always been, and to be in the company of Ernie and be in the company of Christine is such an honor. And all these other wonderful groups and community leaders. I will allude to politics. Ernie mentioned it briefly. Locally, I'm going to say nationally, when I think about the Pacific Ocean and the Sierra Nevada and its 420 miles and the redwoods and the love of children of being involved with nature, those things are huge compared to 4 years of clownish, mostly men, who will be here and be gone. I know it's a bummer, but we'll get through this. The planet and nature are stronger than all of that. I also don't want to be overly self-deprecating for us at LandPaz who are paid staff, but we make a modest living doing what we do, and I'm really grateful for that. And I feel as though there's nothing else, there's no other work that I would want to do in terms of paying my rent to Mother Nature, for the clean air, the warmth that we get from the sun, the cold water to drink, the nutritious food, and the beauty we get to marvel at. But it's all of you that are volunteers. You inspire me. You're not getting paid. I get to make a living, and you all are doing this as volunteers, so I'm in awe of you. Briefly, rooting youth in nature. How do we get here? I'll just start with the personal because that's things that people often remember later on. When I was 6 years old, I got lost in Tuolumne Meadows when my family was up there camping because we couldn't afford to go to Europe or other wonderful places. So we went to Tuolumne Meadows. It was a pretty great place to be in a VW camper van. And I got lost for about 4 hours as a 6-year-old, to the point where the rangers were starting to go down to the Lyell Fork of the Tuolumne to look for a boy either bobbing or worse in the Tuolumne River. But it turns out I was a couple benches up above the campground, surrounded by building ground squirrels and marmots that were whistling at me in turn, completely encircling me and completely in rapture. So after that, there was nothing else I could do than be involved in earth and earth involved things, earth related things. And then in grad school, being with the great late David Brower at Berkeley, and I asked David for advice about environmental law or conservation biology or policy. And he just looked down at me and he said, fix it, fix it. And it took me years to figure out what that meant. It meant just do what you can, leverage your energy and do as much as you possibly can, and don't second guess yourself, even if it's a big goal. And I want to appreciate Steve Sharp, who used to be the general manager acting at Ag and Open Space. It was 25 years ago now when I went in to meet with Steve, and we had the idea for a in our own backyard school program, a stewardship-based multi-visit program. And Steve and went into open space, and Ag and Open Space said, we want to fund that. Let's start it off. And so thanks to the Ag and Open Space District. And now these many years later, it's going. The kids all have nature journals. They have a sit spot, like it's their own little Walden they go to each of the 4 times throughout the school year. It's a really magical program. Last, to finish up, and in case Lee wants to say something, we had lunch today at our downtown urban garden community project, otherwise known as Bear Farm, which was really lovely and inspiring. And who says there's no free lunch? There is a free lunch, and I'm going to put in the chat the name of our admin assistant, JoJo, and her email. And if you want to come and have a free lunch at Bear Farm from the garden, you are welcome to join us this season or next season, whenever you want to come. There is a free lunch. But in addition to the urban open space and really providing opportunities for a diverse assemblage of people across the county, we are still wedded to wildland needing to persevere and exist for these places for us to go and take children and take all of us. And so, John, we've got another place coming up where you can volunteer. So it's super exciting, and it's this place in the background of this photo. I can't tell you where exactly yet because we're not starting escrow until tomorrow. But it's saving wild places and connecting community to those wild places through stewardship and passive public use. It's really what helps us, I think, as Sonoma County residents, be embedded and love this place more frankly, I think, than many other counties in California. We see ourselves in the North Bay as wed to this place. And so we are really excited to be adding on, not only adding on, but doubling the size of the Grove of the Old Trees out west of Occidental. We're not there yet, but we're going to start escrow tomorrow morning with a big check and hope by the end of March that we're able to pull it off. And as David Brower told me decades ago, we don't necessarily just need dollars. We just need hope and inspiration so that we can all together fix it. So thank you very much for this honor and for all the work of the council and everybody's work, whether you're a volunteer or a paid staff member, you're on this Zoom because you love this place, our home. Thank you.
Yeah, a big act to follow. I just also want to add, I'm very honored and just really love this company that I'm sharing the screen with, from Ernie and Wendy and Meg, and John. I think I've only met you a couple times, but I know your name because I hear it all the time at the Lampez office. And I've had this bug in my ear, my brain lately. If everyone in Sonoma County that could gave 1 day of stewardship a year, we would have an amazing, well stewarded home to live in. And you blow that out of the water. So Christine, Christy, Tony, John, Ernie, thank you for being on this platform and for all the work that you do and we do together.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Craig. Boy, I've been trying to look at chat to see if anybody has comments or questions. Thank you all, and congratulations. So I'm going to ask everybody else out there, what can we learn? What lessons did you hear from these amazing people? What questions do we have that might help guide our, us in our daily lives and what we do together? Comment about that. So I'm inviting the rest of the participants out there to chime in with any questions or comments. I'm seeing a lot more thanks come in here. Anybody else? or among yourselves. Any of you want to ask or say something to anybody else in this panel?
I just wanted to say I'm very impressed with everybody here with their environmental education components. It is important to instruct and help the children that live here to appreciate it enough to preserve it and keep it going the way it has been, and so that their children can enjoy it too. So it is a fight to try to keep the policies and the development under control a little bit, and that's kind of been my experiences on that side. But to know that there is people and children and intention to continue to try to keep Sonoma County as rural and as beautiful and as welcoming as it is now, is really hopeful thinking for me anyway. And I appreciate all the work that you all are doing. And thank you. Thank you.
I would like to echo that. Sometimes I wonder who's coming behind, because I know who's been here in the past, and it's just heartening to me to hear from all of you, and Christine and the young people who, well, you're all younger than me at this point, but who have picked up the torch, and it's just good to hear. So keep that education going, and I applaud you.
I've got two things. One, Suzanne, somebody on the chat asked if this recording will be available at some point. So maybe you could answer that at some point. The other thing I'd like to mention is that at an environmental law conference that was for the state of California some years ago, the head of state parks was asked if you could do one thing to preserve state parks forever, what would it be? And she said, I'd get to every second grader and get them into the woods.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Rue. Yes, the recording for this and our previous awards webinars will be posted on the SECC website. That's not going to happen immediately, but it'll happen fairly soon. And I also wanted to just remind everybody that we will get to have more informal conversation in person on Friday. So, Suzanne, maybe you could once again put in chat the link for our holiday networking party and awards celebration, which is this Friday at the Sebastopol Grange. And again, we do appreciate people buying tickets in advance because I need to finish ordering the food tomorrow morning, and need to know how many. So I want to thank again the awardees and mention that there will be a certificate of award signed by the California State Legislature at the celebration on Friday. And again, we hope that many people will be there. I guess I'm going to see one more time if there's any comments or questions among the panelists or from anybody else out there. And if not, we have a tradition now of closing this awards presentation with a poem. I think a lot was said tonight about our hearts, about our commitments. There's a spiritual aspect to all of this that I think is really evident in what everybody said and what motivates them and what keeps us going. And I think poetry often speaks to that and represents the spiritual side of human aspirations. So, Ernie, thank you for the offer. And I guess.
Yes, if you have to talk about poetry, it's probably not necessarily a good thing. But I'm going to just say that I'm not quite Bukowski, and I'm not quite. I just forgot the name of the poet you mentioned earlier.
Wendell Berry.
Wendell Berry. But there is one line in here that might relate to Wendell Berry. Nothing that relates to Bukowski. This poem is called Philosophy. Philosophy. You slip into life program to breathe, excrete, ticket punched air arrival. Nigh on to 14 million Homo sapiens have trod this space. How many can you name? How many can name you? First you're young, then you're old. First you live, then you die. Try not to hurt too many people along the way. Put back more than you take. You control some of it. Greed produces prunes and ghouls. Anxiety makes wrinkles and fools. 8 out of 10 commandments, not bad. Power goes sour. Your children will likely throw away all that shit you collected, or someone else will.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ernie. Well, who was the author of that?
Oh, well, just me.
Yet another skill. Wow.
I picked that one out of a bunch of them. It may not be necessarily the most conservative poem, but it's my philosophy.
That was awesome, Ernie.
And Craig will be singing on Friday night, I think.
Yes, he will. Yeah, along with a few other local musicians. Not his full band, but impromptu. Again, another collaboration. So, gosh, well, Craig.
Wendy, thank you for all that you and the council do. You are really, it's been an honor to know you this last 20 plus, almost 30 years, not including high school, of course, 40 plus years ago, but you are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there was a comment about, you mentioned us doing this as volunteers. We inspire each other, and I feel incredibly grateful to be here in Sonoma County. And I do feel, like Chris was saying, about really being part of this land, this community. This amazing place is really a privilege. So, well, again, thank you all, and I look forward to seeing all of you, I think, on Friday. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.